The voice of sharing during ASEAN.
Hey, welcome back. This is Arlene, and you're listening to Durian ASEAN.
Hi, this is Gowri, and we are moving on to our ABC dialogue for Friday.
Yeah, and our ABC dialogue today, we will be talking about a topic that is very sensitive, but it needs to be discussed. And I think the public spaces to discuss on this topic is very limited. And what's the topic, Gauri?
The topic is about the LGBT community and the battle that they are fighting pretty much all over the world, except that we are going to also focus on Malaysia, of course, particularly.
So, as we all know, LGBT stands for lesbian, gay, transsexual, and bisexual. But sometimes people also put the word queer, because they feel that it's a totally different category that needs to be included as well.
Yeah, and some people actually call it LGBTQ, as I have here, and in some cases even LGBTQA, where A is asexual.
Yeah, there are cases of people who are not even interested in sex at all. So, yeah, they are called asexual. So, the variety of different sexual spectrums or gender spectrum in human beings is actually something that is, to be very frank with you, the idea of there's a spectrum of genders rather than having two clearly defined gender is a new idea.
Actually, that is something that is worth pondering and something that's worth discussing. I think, like where do we draw the line, especially in terms of gender, because it's such a it's I wouldn't say it's subjective because we do have a clear men and women, but then there are some people who feel like they are neither. So like where do they come in this equation?
And some of them even have two sexual organs, the penis and also the vagina. So you're right. I used to believe that in terms of sex or in terms of gender, there's only two different genders, which is the female gender and the male gender. So anything in between is considered abnormal. But but the longer I read about the plights of these LGBT groups, the more I'm confirmed that gender is actually a very subjective idea or a social construct idea. Like, how do you know that you're a woman other than your sexual organs?
I think that is also another interesting aspect that I would like to talk about for a bit when you say how do you know you're a woman, because I know our listeners cannot look at us right now, but I actually have this short pixie hair and you have that long hair. So does that mean I'm less feminine or less womanly in that sense?
So in reality, actually, gender is actually a spectrum. It's like rainbows. There are different colors combined into one rainbow. So and also a rainbow is the is the
Is their symbol
their
actually
symbol, yeah, the
of the
symbol of the
LGBT
LGBT.
community?
And one thing I like about the idea of gender is a spectrum, meaning that you you are not woman enough or you are not man enough. You are a combination of the hormones, the female hormones and the male hormones.
But then even if you look at internal aspects, because it goes back to both, it's not just about your physicality, and it's not only about your interest, your hobbies, because I'm sure you've heard this before. Like sometimes when a girl is probably playing sports or doing all these hardcore activities, and then her parents will be like, "Hey, can you like be a little more girly? Like, don't play with this car toys. Can you like play with Barbies or something?" Why do you feel like you have the right to tell someone what they should be doing? Because if the girl wants to play with cars, let her play with cars. Do you think that playing with cars is gonna make her less girly? Does it affect her gender in that way?
Yeah, I mean that's the social norms which want to sort of like lump people into like clearly defined genders. But biologically, a lot of people do not know, but everyone was born a female. So even our male friends, they were born a female. It's only later on when the fetus become a well-defined baby that some of them grow penises and some of them do not.
I think you meant conceived, not when everyone was born, right?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, everyone was conceived as a
Yeah.
in their mother's womb. All of us were females. And when we talk about female and male, there's no such thing as a clearly defined. I mean, I'm talking in the biological sense. There's no such thing as a clearly defined gender of a male and female. The reason is because we are a combination of testosterone and estrogen hormones. So it's either you have more estrogen or you have more testosterone hormones. For female, obviously, there's more estrogen hormones. That's why we may act differently. We have periods, and we are a bit more, we are a bit more affected by situation when it comes to estrogen hormones. As in, like, we are much more feminine in the way how our feature looks like, and the way we express ourselves. While testosterone is seen as a more masculine hormone, meaning that people are more, those with a lot of testosterone are more aggressive. They have more body hair, and the overall look, they have a more macho sort of like body type.
And I think that brings me to this story about gym, because a lot of women are afraid to go to the gym because they are afraid that they're going to start getting muscles. But actually, biologically, you cannot get muscles because you don't have testosterone.
Yeah, that's true.
Unless you inject yourself with the hormone, then you start building muscles.
That's also the reason why some men, no matter how hard they work, their body will always be like just a plank of wood.
Okay.
For men to sort of increase their body weight, to have more muscles, they don't just need protein. To go to the extreme, they need to inject themselves with, or to consume like pills that contains testosterone hormones. For bodybuilders, they don't actually look like that. The reason why they look the way they are is because they take the extra efforts to increase their testosterone hormones.
And also going back to LGBT, where you have these people who, I guess some people would say they are in between two genders. Some people would say that they are just confused, and some people would go to the extent to say that we need to, bring them to the right path or something to that extent. But it's not something that you can choose. I think when you are born, and as you grow up, you just become who you are as a person. I don't think that being exposed to a certain kind of I don't know, it could be TV or toys or whatever, actually affects your sexuality, because I grew up watching football and WWE, and I didn't become a tomboy. I didn't become manly.
In the first place, who defines what kind of sport is masculine and what kind of sport is feminine?
That's another thing.
I think when you talk about even colors, people would be surprised that the color of pink was actually a popular color being used by boys, being worn by boys rather than girls. In the past, especially during the 19th century and all that, every child, every baby, if you look at photos of babies in the 19th and 18th century, they actually wore a dress, and they have a bit longer hair. So in the past, there's no such thing as a male baby outfit and female baby outfit. Every baby, they wear the same kind of like dress, and weirdly shaped hair, as well as they.
So is it capitalism?
There's a long story to talk about that. Yeah. And in the past, they even go to an extreme end. Like I see a young baby girl, 2-3 years old, having an alligator as a pet.
Oh, okay.
It's unthink of in today's society, but in the past, because the distinction between a male baby and a female baby is quite blurred, that's why even pink is considered like a popular color for male babies.
And also another thing that I want to bring up is parents. The moment they conceive a child, and they want to find out the gender of the baby, so they can start painting the room. So if it's a baby girl, they start painting it pink. If they know they're having a boy, they start painting it blue. and that's another what do you call convention, or another thing that I guess it's not very. I I wouldn't encourage that, but why do you have to set the rule that way? Like, okay, if it's a girl, then everything has to be in pink, or if it's a
I think
boy.
there are several areas that we can definitely discuss and explore. I think number one, obviously, the biggest groups that are totally against the idea of LGBT, or the idea that gender is a social construct, is definitely the religious group. And the second would be social norms. Yeah, I mean, maybe society is so used to the idea that, women should be this, men should be that. Even it is portrayed in the media, in the popular films and all that. So you sort of like having that norms being injected inside you, you sort of like think, okay, this is how I should look like to be this confident woman. When in fact being a confident woman doesn't mean you have to wear a skirt, or it doesn't mean you have to paint your nails, or you have to have your hair, perm and all that, or you have to wear like a certain look of makeup.
Right.
Doesn't have to be like that.
Actually, speaking of that, do you know that people have actually asked me, like, how do you feel girly? How do you stay in touch with your femininity with such short hair? And I think that in a way, I feel like it's a stupid question, because my hair has nothing to do with my femininity, or the about the fact of am I girly or am I not, because it's just my hair. Like, it's a physical thing, and it really doesn't define me as a person.
Yeah, it doesn't define you as a person. You as a person is whatever that makes you feel comfortable, and whatever that makes you feel that you are your own person. And for some, I think to them, having an attraction towards the same gender, or the is definitely something that is inbuilt within them biologically. Like, there are some people, I mean, let's break down what is LGBT. Lesbians are considered women who are attracted to other women instead
Yeah.
of to other men. And gay are men who are attracted to other men than other women. While transgender is people who want to dress into a gender that is not physically theirs. For example, you are female without a penis, but you are so used to the idea of dressing up as a man rather than a woman, or having beard and all that. Or for men who are so used to dressing up as a woman and being drag queens, and having this kind of woman,
Yeah, and they feel like they are more in touch
feminine.
with that kind of aspect where they like dressing up, they like wearing makeup, they want to grow out their hair.
And for bisexual are those who are attracted to both genders. They are attracted to men as well as women, and they can't help that. And for queer, I think it's more like, I think in Malay would be called pondan. I don't think it's a nice word, but that's the closely meaning of queer, meaning that you are a soft person. When it comes to men, you are a soft man, a soft as in like you display much more feminine characteristic.
But in
within
most
yourself.
cases, they simply use queer for gay people as well, in order to term the homosexuals.
And the last one is what you say, asexual, meaning they are not attracted to any gender sexually. I actually read some cases of asexual people. They are human beings. They fall in love. They want a relationship. They want a companionship. They just feel that it doesn't have to involve sex.
I've actually never met anyone who's asexual, so I guess I don't really know how it works with them, like how they think and all.
For asexual people, I think what they feel satisfied the most is not via sex, it's via companionship. That's what I read, the cases that I read, and I feel that for people who are asexual, they see sex as something that is, it's not they see sex as dirty, or they see sex as something that is weird. It's just like they see sex as something that is not a turn on. Like, people get turned on all the time by sexy women or by men with a lot of muscles and all that. But to them, they feel that, oh, it's just like nothing. Yeah, there's no spark inside their.
I guess,
themselves.
yeah, it goes back to whether it works for you or not.
Mm-hmm.
Because no matter what it is, whether it's having sex, whether it's even dating, marriage, anything at all, it works for some people and it doesn't work for some people. And I think that's completely normal when it comes to your own preferences. And maybe, like you said, some people just don't have the urge to do it. So why discriminate them, and why have this certain bias against them?
I think let's talk about social norms in society. When we grew up, we are being conditioned. I mean, I'm speaking of myself as a woman. We are being conditioned to feel that we need, of course, in today's society, in the modern society, probably when it comes to gender roles, all genders are sort of being forced into this framework that they need to work to survive. So I think it's acceptable for both male and female to wear the pants or to bring back the bacon. I mean, in all cultures, either it's Malay, Chinese, Indian, Muslim or non-Muslim, and all that. But I feel that even though they might be liberated economically for both gender, but when it comes to the social narrative, they are the woman. Or I feel that me myself, I'm still stuck in a framework where I can only achieve happiness. I can achieve success by, go to work and earn a decent living and all that. But when it comes to happiness, my happiness is defined whether I'm married or not, or whether I have a good husband or not.
That's very interesting. Yeah, I think social norm is another thing that we've been being brainwashed since we were little, and that's another issue that's being faced by the LGBT community because like we mentioned earlier, when you're small and then you're maybe a guy and then you're playing with Barbie dolls, and then your parents will freak out and probably snatch it away from you and like, no, this is not what you should be doing, this is what you should be doing, just because that's the social norm that guys don't normally play with Barbies. And even if maybe that boy or what prefers wearing a dress over just jeans and t-shirt or what, and at the same time it also affects other people around you, like if your parents keep telling you that, like, oh, you're a boy and you can only play with this, you can only play with that, you can only do this. So when you see someone else out there doing things differently, then you start having that bias, that prejudice against them. You start judging them like, hey, you're a guy, why are you doing this? You're a girl, you're not supposed to be doing that. And it slowly builds up over the years, and that's why right now we have there's so much prejudice, and we're giving the LGBT community such a hard time just because what they're doing is out of the social norm.
And a majority of the social norms are defined by religion in a way. Like, I mean, the idea of marriage itself is actually part of the requirement of religion, so that your union is civilized and is something that society can accept, rather than see it as, oh, this guy are just copulating with each other, but they are not like really attached with each other. But when it comes to the LGBT community, it's even harder. I mean, for example, if you are a transgender, you don't have a clear avenue to express yourself as a woman. I mean, to express yourself as a woman, you want to feel sexy by wearing sexy dresses. You want to feel empowered by, having like a female voice, a female outlook in life. But you can't do that. You are forced to be in the box of a social construct, male gender. The same with people who are bisexual. I mean, can you imagine having attraction towards both genders, male and female, but let's say you're a woman, you're only forced to marry a man. So but you, at the same time, you're attracted to women as well. So for LGBT community, the challenge is not just about society, it's also about themselves. They are being conditioned by religion to have this guilt trip, like, oh, I feel so guilty that I have this feeling, maybe it's wrong.
I guess the fact that they expect every marriage to be, there has to be one man and one woman, and that's the idea behind marriage itself. It cannot be two people of the same gender. It cannot be two people who are attracted to the the same member of your sex, and it gets complicated there because when you're, let's say, when you're having a kid or what, then I was reading this article about how you define a family, and then of course they define it as a mom, a dad, and a child. So what happens when you have two dads, or if you have two moms in that sense? Does it not mean that you're a family? Does it not mean that you cannot function as a proper family?
I like that you highlighted the idea of family. I think family is very important in society. It's the most important institution among all institutions. Of course, you can have state, you can have clubs and all. You can have like communities, but at the end of the day, for us to build a successful and a healthy environment for children, is to start with family first. But how do you define family? And I still remember I saw this advertisement by Coca-Cola during the Super Bowl. I think it was probably in February or somewhere, can't remember. But I was really I felt in love with the advertisement. It's called America is Beautiful. So they have all these different kids from different ethnic background to sing in their own language. It's like a national anthem for America is Beautiful, and it drew criticism because they don't sing it. Only one person sang it in English.
A wide outrage on the internet when that happened.
But they didn't realize. But a lot of people didn't realize. In the whole, I think probably 3 minutes video, one of the scene is actually two gay parents raising a child, and it's not an acting. It's actually true. I mean, it's based on a true two gay family that is raising one child, and they are really happy. I mean, you cannot imagine it now, but even Ricky Martin is raising a kid, and he's gay as well, and I find it very beautiful.
Yeah, and it's not just Ricky Martin. Elton John also adopted a kid a long time ago, and he's actually doing very well with his partner. And I think, because back then I used to watch a lot of these TV shows from US, and like Friends, which is probably one of the most famous and most popular TV shows.
In the 90s, yeah.
Yeah, and they actually had one of the characters, who was actually lesbian, and she was living in with a partner, and she was raising the kid, and nobody had a problem with that. And that was actually like more than 10 years ago, and it seems that in a way we have come so far from that, but for some reason people are still they treat this as something that is so taboo. It's something that's so unnatural, and that is not supposed to be happening.
Yeah, unfortunately that's the case even in Malaysia. But to talk about Malaysia, I think we need to take a very short break.
Yeah, sure.
But when we return back, we will discuss more about how in Malaysia the LGBT are being hugely discriminated.
Voice of sharing, durian ASEAN.
Hey, welcome back. This is Arlene.
Hi, this is Gowri.
And we are discussing again on a topic that is very sensitive, but at the same time we feel that there's very little public space to really discuss about it, especially in the country like Malaysia. And our topic today, of course, it's about the LGBT community and how they are being discriminated by society. So Gowri, religion plays a very important role in human lives, human society. Do you really think religion itself discriminates against the LGBT community?
I definitely think that religion plays a huge part in all this discrimination, because I cannot help but to notice that when people are religious, maybe it doesn't apply to all. I'm not speaking for everyone, but sometimes some people, because they are so religious, they feel like they have this superiority complex. Like, okay, I'm so religious and I pray every day, and therefore I'm just better than you, and I'm like going to heaven for sure, and I'm just better than everyone else around me. And I think that sort of leads to all this. It leads to people judging one another. Like if I pray every day and you don't, and then I'll be like, what is wrong with you? When in fact there is nothing wrong with you. It's just the way that I perceive things to be. So I don't think that when you are talking about someone else, when you are okay, in the first place, I don't think that anyone has the right to judge anybody. So nobody has the rights or the power to tell someone that you're not normal, or what you're doing is unnatural, or like this is wrong, because I think that everyone has the right to do whatever they want with their lives. But I mean, of course, you have to draw the line somewhere. But as long as you're not hurting anyone, you're not killing anyone, I think there is no reason why you should be giving them a hard time. Because from the way I see it, I'm actually pretty neutral about this. I'm not against the LGBT, and I'm at the same time not probably advocating them or anything. But I feel like if it's just two people who love each other, there's no harm being done there.
Besides religion, I think I'm actually quite divided about religion, because in a way, religious texts can be interpreted in 1001 ways. If you want it to be racist, you want it to be sexist, you want it to be against certain norms that you think is not suitable to yours, you can always interpret it in your own way. And I mean, Christian fundamentalists in the West in the past, in order for them to justify slavery, they actually quote the Bible, saying that actually God created human beings as white people, as God gave privileges to the white people, and they created him and all that. But I mean, but at the same time, I can't help to realize that they are like, I mean, to blame religion solely is not really something ideal. I think they are really, really sexist, or religious leaders who are totally against the LGBT community. But at the same time, I have to applaud religious leaders, as whether it's from the Islamic religion, Christianity, and all that, that actually either promote or even acknowledge that there is such thing as the third gender, they call it. And I think in all cultures, especially in Eastern culture, sometimes the third gender is an acceptable gender. For example, in India, there's a group of women, I think a community of women, who are actually men in the past.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, and they are seen as someone. I mean, I think they are transgender women. They are seen as they usually would go to weddings. They would give blessing and all that. And actually in Southeast Asia and in Malaysia in particular, in the past, the transgender women are considered as someone who hold the power in terms of religious power. I'm not sure religious power, but in terms of spiritual power. So whenever they want to do some BOMO activity, usually it will be the transgender woman who did that.
Actually, it's very interesting that you brought that up, because they do have a place in society, but that doesn't mean that they are not being discriminated. Actually, they do face hard times from the society of the country and all. But there was one movie that I remember seeing, a Tamil movie, where for the first time they actually highlighted that particular community in India. I really I forgot what they're called, and they actually kind of highlight the issues, the trouble that these people are facing, and they also did it very nicely. And towards the end, you see how they are just humans, and they are very nice people, and they are helpful, they are kind. There is really nothing to it, it's just maybe us humans that sometimes we just feel like we have to put other people down to make ourselves feel better.
Yeah. I mean, for religious leaders, I want to talk about religious leaders. Sometimes they are also in a very difficult situation because I mean, those religious leaders that actually have no problem with LGBT or actually acknowledges that is such thing as a third gender usually would also face discrimination by society by saying that, hey, you are not a legitimate ulama, or you are not a legitimate pastor, or your view is too extreme, you don't understand the Bible or the Quran. So in that sense, I think even within people who support the LGBT, they also face certain backlashes. But you know what is worse is institutionalized discrimination towards LGBT, especially if the state is against the LGBT community as well. And in Malaysia, there were a number of cases where LGBT community are being caught by police, by the state, because of being themselves. And it's true, in certain state, actually being an LGBT is against the law.
Actually, I read one joke, or rather, actually, I heard it from one of my favorite stand-up comedian, who is Russell Howard, where he says that the Bible says that, homosexuals are not natural, gays and lesbians are not natural, and then he says, and what, a talking snake is natural? And yeah, I thought that was really interesting in that sense, because, like you said earlier, there can be a million ways to interpret the Bible or any other religious text, but some people just choose to see it as they want to see it, maybe.
I want to quote one case of how the transgender people were being discriminated in Malaysia. I think the infamous one is the recent case in Seremban, where they were being caught during a wedding because, for being a transgender by the religious authority. So Islam in Malaysia is definitely against the idea of LGBT. In fact, not just Islam. Surprisingly, the British civil law, common law, also has laws that are against LGBT. That's why even in a secular Singapore, you would be surprised that LGBT are not welcome and are against the law. For example, in Malaysia, the sodomy law, which the infamous case would be Anwar Ibrahim, is actually a law that is being inherited back during the British colonial.
That's interesting, because Elton John is in the UK, and he doesn't seem to have any problem with it. Maybe that's because
they already reformed the law in a lot of Western countries, but a lot of countries which were being colonized by the British, they still maintain that law. And in the case of Singapore, it's pretty sad as well, because you would assume a country which is diverse, which is secular at the same time, would respect, the rights of LGBT to exist, but in their case, it doesn't seem it that way. In fact, they were so discriminating towards the towards the LGBT, that the government actually didn't do anything much in terms of voicing out against the Wear White movement, which was a movement by different extreme religious groups in Singapore to protest against the LGBT.
But I think the Pope actually was pretty, maybe not supportive, but he wasn't biased or prejudiced against the LGBT.
The new Pope Francis, for example, the Pope Francis today uttered some of the most encouraging words to Pontiff has ever spoken about gay and lesbian people. In doing so, he has set a great example of Catholic everywhere. The Pope has rejected the harsh language of his predecessor, and he is advocating for a compassionate approach and a pastoral tone. Lesbian and gays are no longer a threat to civilization. Rather, they are people of faith and goodwill. I think what the Pope Francis is doing is definitely commendable, because at the same time, when religious institutions shun off a group of people, they will have less people, believe in the religion itself or believe in God. So I think what Pope Francis is doing is he wants to bring back religion in every individual, and that every individual could be an LGBT, him or herself.
And I think I want to also talk about LGBT rights, like what have they been trying to achieve through all these social movements that they have, and some of it is mostly human rights, civil rights, something that they just want to be treated as equal like any other person. And some of them include, of course, the most important one is the same-sex marriage through a civil union, and LGBT adoption, LGBT parenting, and also an anti-bullying legislation that protects this LGBT community from being bullied, especially in school. And then immigration equality laws, anti-discrimination laws for employment, which is also happening very rightly right now, equal age of consent laws, assisted reproductive technology, legal recognition and accommodation of reassigned gender, as well as laws related to sexual orientation and military service.
In the military service, they have this thing called "Don't Ask, Don't Tell,"
Yes, they do.
meaning that they are respected as an LGBT as long as they don't tell people and people don't ask what is their gender.
So speaking of employment, actually I read another joke that said, so you guys think LGBT is a disease. So from next Monday onwards, all these LGBT people can call up their boss and say, you know what, I'm down with this disease. Can I get an MC today?
Yeah, surprisingly, LGBT people are also discriminated in the workplace. I think the problem with the workplace in society is it's a very patriarchal space, meaning that it exerts more masculinity than femininity. And I think in a healthy gendered society, you need both masculinity and femininity. That's why even for women, for them to presume that to be successful in the workplace is to display masculine features or masculine approach towards doing things, rather than having both masculinity and femininity in within themselves. They may look like a feminine woman, but in themselves they still feel that they need to be masculine. They need to have this iron lady attitude, towards dealing with matters and making decisions.
And also another positive news that I have here is back in 2011, when the United Nations Human Rights Council actually passed its first resolution recognizing these LGBT rights, and it actually protects these people from hate crime, criminalization of homosexuality and discrimination.
Is Malaysia a signatory of any of the UN
I was
conventions?
actually just going to ask you that in that sense, because
I don't think so.
because we do practice the criminalization of homosexuality here, so I'm guessing we're not part of that council.
In Malaysia, they are a small but very outspoken group of transgender especially one of it is called Sexuality Merdeka, where they have festivals every year to celebrate being the idea of being an LGBT, which I think is very positive, and also there are some friends of mine within the civil society group that promotes the healthy discussion, either among parents or among young kids on being LGBT is not an abnormal gender. It's actually a very normal, healthy sort of understanding of who we are as a person, being an LGBT.
And also the singer Macklemore. I don't know if you watched the Grammys. He actually performed with Madonna called Same Love. And then he and Queen Latifah actually married like hundreds of gay couples during the ceremony.
So
it was actually 33 couples during the 56 Grammy Awards. And I watched it, and it was actually very, very moving in a sense, because you look at those people and it just goes down to two human beings being in love with each other, and they just want to be with each other, and that's really all they want. And it was a very moving incident.
Yeah, I think the way forward for Malaysia, I think in the future is, I think we should have more and more civil society advocates on the awareness of LGBT as a normal human being, people of LGBT gender. And I think society as a whole also, should have that kind of outlook that in the past, if we can accept people like Matnya or Pondan, I think Pondan is not really a good word, but people like Matnya, I think we should accept it in these current times as well. And I think religion should definitely be reformed or be interpreted in a way that accepts people of all genders as part of God believers, or people who don't even believe in God should also do the same thing. I mean, I'm referring to Singapore in that case.
And I mean, eventually every religion encourages love among humans, and no religion will tell you to hate on another person.
And I think the state should play like the major role in this. If we can deconstruct gender and institutionalize a gender, laws and also regulation that is gender neutral, and I think it would definitely push forward for more progress in human civilization. So anyway, that's all for us today.
Yeah, we had a very fruitful discussion.
Yeah, and of course, we would really love to hear your comments and your thoughts about the LGBT community.
Yeah, please comment on our Facebook page. Let us know what you think.
Tweet with us.
Yeah, even let us know if there's any topic that you want us to talk about.
So our tweet is at DurianASEAN.
Our Twitter is twitter.com/DurianASEAN. And same as our Facebook page, facebook.com/DurianASEAN.
If they want to tag us,
yeah, it's just at
DurianASEAN.com or without?
No, just DurianASEAN.
At DurianASEAN. So yeah, we want to hear from you. So that's all for today. Thank you, and we are signing off. For Muslims all over the world, Selamat Hari Raya.
And don't forget to invite us to all your open house.
Yay.